I'm going to take you through my 3 phases of business. 99% of people usually don't get past the first phase. Do you want to win in business? Yes or no?
Give me a quick rundown.
If you want to travel the world while working, I want to do all these different things. What are we doing?
Revenue, business expenses, personal expenses, and true net.
What are you actually trying to do? What are your actual goals? So the topic of this podcast is going to be really just around mentorship of business and just how people should break things down from start to finish.
I think maybe let's break down first the type of person that will be served best by this episode.
The people that really want to get financially free and be able to run their business the smart way. You hear a lot in the market right now about people talking about revenue, right? I want to make $1 million in revenue, right? We don't talk revenue here, we talk profit. I think profit's the more clear scoreboard of what we like to do. So that will kind of dive us into phase 1. Let's just get into phase 1.
Let's talk about owner-occupied entrepreneurs or owner-operators. What are some of their pitfalls?
Main thing is clarity of their finances. Not just in the business, personally, right? So I call it the financial scoreboard. And so what a lot of these business owners will do is they'll spend all of their time in sales. And that's great, right? You gotta make money in the business, you gotta do sales. But a lot of times you have to look at your finances and realize, okay, how much am I bringing in versus how much are my expenses? And so there's actually a document that we'll actually put together. We did a whole YouTube video separately on a financial sheet that can see everything.
Mm-hmm.
People usually know what P&Ls are, right? Profits and loss. That can be your income versus your expenses. But a lot of people don't really know how to track it appropriately. And more importantly for me, it was, okay, what happens if I lose money, in 2 months, 3 months? Where's my position of my money?
Right.
So the first thing I'll do is I'll make sure that these entrepreneurs are clear about their finances. And a lot of times let's just make it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
You got somebody who has 5 clients, and those 5 clients are paying them $2,000 a month. Okay, so they're making $10,000, right? So pretty easy. I think a lot of people know how much they're actually making. And again, this can apply to somebody who's also. For this episode, we'll just do business owners, but this can apply to somebody who also has a job that they know they're making this much money per month, right? Then we go to the expense side. That gets a little more complicated, which really isn't, but people complicate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
How much money do you spend every single month? Not just guessing, like how much money do you actually spend?
Yeah.
So what I do is I take a look at the business and personal expenses and I separate those. So the business expenses is, do you pay employees right now? If so, how much? Do you have subscriptions? What does it take to run your whole entire business? So let's just say after you add all those numbers up, it takes you $5,000 to run all your expenses. Okay, cool. What is our profit? 10,000 minus 5,000, $5,000. Now, a lot of times what happens is most people don't have those numbers being clear.
Right.
And so that's why I call it the clarity, right? Like you have to have clarity on your numbers. And so what that looks like is, let's say, how much money do you spend a month on food? And they're like $500. And then we look at their bank account, we're like, well, actually you're spending like 2,000, right? So the numbers are wrong. So you want to make sure that you are clear about your numbers in the very beginning. I always say with your expenses, don't expect it to be under. Yeah. If you're going to go over, great, right? But if you're undershooting it, you have the wrong numbers and all of a sudden you're left and you're like, oh, I'm going to make $5,000 profit, but really you're making no profit.
Yeah,
you're
because
like,
in your head, the number, it's always bigger than you expect. Like,
always.
I just did an audit and $600 to $700 more than what I thought it was. Just doing mental math. Oh, there's no way I spend that much on it. Oh, there probably is.
Well, especially with hyperinflation, everything's happening right now. Everything's more expensive. And so that's what I used to do, but this is like a side story, but 7 years ago, what I used to do is I would actually give myself cash and put it in an envelope. Because when you swipe a card, it's easy just to keep swiping. And especially subscriptions now, it's online, it just hits your account, right? But when you're actually giving somebody cash, you start to look at how much you have and you start to gauge better. So that's the first thing is we want to break everything down. Again, we have a whole master financial sheet we can give to people for free, breaks down exactly how you do it. But that's the first thing is now you're clear about what is my actual profit. Again, I don't care about revenue. Everybody talks about revenue. What is the actual profit?
Right.
And you ask people a question, they're like, oh, I don't know yet, right? Oh, but I did $100,000 this month. It's like, what was your profit? I don't know yet. It's like, It doesn't matter. That's almost like taking the scoreboard in basketball and covering the other team's points and be like, we got 100 points over here. It's like, okay, what was the score though?
Right.
Who won?
Are you up 1? Are you down 30?
Exactly. So it's a very clear thing, and that is usually step 1, phase 1, because then people have clarity on where their position is currently at. Now, if you realize you're in a better position and you have more profit than you thought, okay, the next phase becomes how can you allocate that profit?
Right.
What can you do with it? 9 times out of 10, if you don't have clarity in your numbers, usually money is bleeding. That's what I call stop the bleed is usually phase 2.
Yeah.
Is where is the money bleeding? And that's when you can actually audit. So just like you said, there's no way I spend, this much money in food. And then you audit and you're like, oh, there is.
Right.
Okay, so what can you do about it? Does that mean that you should go eat out more? It's like, okay, let's look at the numbers. Like, no, let's not eat out this month. Now you're able to actually understand what you need to do. It might not be fun. You might be like, oh, now I don't have to eat out anymore. I have to go to the grocery store. But again, it's like the business is about clarity. If you don't have clarity, you don't know the scoreboard, you're not able to actually adjust. I think about sports. If you couldn't see the scoreboard ever, right? You won't know how aggressive to get on the game or how conservative to get. You always see that the teams that are down by 30 in basketball, what do they start doing? Full court press.
Right.
Let's start shooting more threes. Like, we got to go. We can't be waiting 24-second shot clock for this whole thing. We got to go. We don't have much time, right? What do the teams do that are up by 30? They usually start to draw the time clock out. They run longer plays. And so again, the coach, if he doesn't know the scoreboard, is not going to lead his team in the right way. So that's the first thing, is you got to make sure you understand your numbers. I keep hitting that home because it sounds so basic. Everybody I coach, everybody I talk to, they're just like, oh, I never focused on it, because it's not sexy. What's sexy is going out and getting money and sales and closing things and running marketing campaigns and a new website, a new logo, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't have clarity in your numbers, you really can't get there. So that's phase 1. We'll wrap that one up. Let's go into phase 2.
Yeah, I think before we get to that, I want to ask you a question. Why do you think most business owners avoid looking at their numbers beyond it not being sexy?
I call it the ostrich effect. And so, and most business owners have been around for a long time go through the same exact phase of this, where you really don't want to look. You know it's not what you think it is. It's so much easier to look at your revenue and say, wow, we're making this much money and we want to make more, than it is to actually look at the scoreboard. And also, it's just like diving into the numbers, and it's boring, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think
it's tedious.
Yeah. Too. Well, and like that's what I tell people that the most fun part of business is the first few months, because it's so exciting. You're building logos, you're doing website stuff, you're creating your brand, you're getting your first deal, and it's so exciting, right? But nobody thinks to actually break the numbers down and crush the numbers. And more importantly, update the numbers every single day. This process does not work if you do it once every week, once every quarter, once every month. You have to do it once every day. It's the first thing I do every single morning. I open my bank accounts, I look at my cash accounts, I see how much money's in it by the penny. And the thing that does for there too is you're able to see if money is leaking out of the business. That's the most important thing. I had this running joke with business owners where I'll play the song, Keep Bleeding. And because that's like the most important thing, is if you can stop the bleed, you save so much money. Everybody's so focused on the next deal. The money's already there. You're just a bad steward of the money. And so if you can become a better steward of your money, you keep the money in the business. And again, it's not how much you make, it's how much you can carry. And most people can't carry that much of wealth. And so what happens when you can't carry it, these things start dropping. That visual is somebody really carrying a bunch of groceries or a basket of a bunch of oranges stacked. And the more you move, the more the oranges fall out. And pretty soon it will just be as much as the basket will carry, not how much you can carry, right? But if you start to build a bigger basket that's able to carry more, you're able to carry that very, very easily. So that's the number one thing, is it's not fun. People probably watch this and they're just like, I don't want to do that, right? Do you want to win in business? Yes or no? You have to understand your numbers.
I think it would be good to break down the 4 buckets, because we kind of went over phase 1 and we're about to audit, but just to make it explicitly clear, like it is to a 5th grader, give me a quick rundown on the buckets: revenue, business expenses, personal expenses, and true net. Yeah.
So revenue, let's go one by one. So revenue is going to be how much money you're actually making in the business, right? Pretty easy. It's just how much money is actually coming in. Now, the next one is your business expense. The next
business expenses.
Yeah. So business expenses is obviously separate from personal expenses. So that's just everything it takes to run the company. So think of it as it can be your subscriptions, it can be your computer costs, it can be your payroll, everything it takes to run your actual business.
And some people might have bleed here because they don't think Wi-Fi, phone bill, rent, electric bill.
Yeah.
Like these things can be bucketed into business expenses. Obviously, if it's out of one space where you're also living, it's a portion of it, but that's still
Well, that's a good point.
included.
Because most people I talk to, I say, "What's your business expenses?" And they try to go off the top of their head. It's like, no, pull up your actual bank account, your bank statement, and go line item by the month, and be like, "What is that charge? Okay, what is that for?" Separate between personal and separate between business, right? Personal is things that you can't write off, which we won't get into that detail too much, but you should be able to at least decide like what is business and what is personal.
Yeah.
And those are all your expenses. Now, a lot of people are paid money in different ways. So it could be coming out of their account, it could be coming out of Venmo, it could be, so you have to take everything from the very beginning. And again, I recommend that people audit this once every quarter minimum. We do it once every month because again, it's just bleeding out cash. Like if you saw how much money, like, I mean, the Dropbox thing, for example, for us, right? We were getting paid, like charged like $300 more a month just because all we had to do is delete a few files and then we saved $300. And so it was like, okay, that was a very expensive click that I did. And I was like, okay, we saved a bunch of money, right? Yeah. So I think that's like the main thing is that's the second bucket. What's the third one?
2 is business expenses. 3 is personal expenses.
Okay, so there we go. We got knocked those 2 out. The last one is actually net profit, right?
Yep.
So that is after everything. So that is not, that's after you pay yourself and that's after your allocation towards taxes as well. So that's like true profit, right? Not, oh, we had this left over, but we haven't paid myself as the owner, right? I think that's people can make a lot of mistakes on that because then what happens is after they pay themselves, they realize there's no profit left over whatsoever. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, then you're really just in a job. You're not in a business, right? Yeah. So again, these
you're working for free.
Yeah, working literally for free. And so that actually, let's get into then how I do with my students. And let me just act like you're one of my students. So the first thing is obviously clarity, right? Like we get clear in their finances. I had them break down the financial sheet that we will provide. We'll pop on the screen and show people what it looks like. But the cool thing with that is it allows them to see where their money is in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, right? If they don't make any more money and they're in the same position, if they don't increase or decrease their expenses, where will their actual money be? And that gives a forecasting. Because a lot of times, this is why it's helped me, and I've done this for the last 12 years, is when we lose a client, like, oh my gosh, we just lost $10,000 a month. Like, oh, this is brutal, right? And your brain starts playing tricks on yourself and it starts to say it's worse than it really is. When you look at the financial sheet, you actually look at your position, you're like, wait a minute, we're not in a horrible area. Yeah, we have to react. We have to make more sales. But we have 6 months to do it or 5 months to do it or 4 months to do it. A lot of times people won't look at that stuff and they'll over panic or they'll under panic. You got to be exactly what the actual marker is going to be for you to make a decision on what you need to do, right? If you don't do this, what happens is sometimes it's too late. Yeah. All of a sudden you look at your account, you're like, wait a minute, I don't have any money. Yeah. Oh, and we have the expenses coming up. Oh, I can't afford it. And then all of a sudden it creeps up on you. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Before we get back into it, if you've ever wanted to be one-on-one coached by myself, head over to my Instagram at Jared Carver, send me over a DM and my team will send you over a Discovery Zoom link so we can jump on, figure out how I can help you, what your bottlenecks are, and how to actually grow your business. Now, I'm only opening up 2 more spots in my one-on-one coaching. Again, this is one-on-one coaching. This is not me throwing you into a big pool of people, sending you a course. I live in the problems with you, understand where the bleed is the company, understand how we can get more profit out of your business. Whether it be more time, more profit, I will figure that out with you. So think of me as your fractional CEO in your business to help you scale, get your time back, and actually become profitable. Send me over a DM today and we'll go from there. Let's get back to the podcast. Okay, so let's break down exactly what I do for my students and we'll go step by step because this is actually like the best way for us to figure out where the bottlenecks in the business. And so the first thing is obviously phase 1, like I explained, it's the financials. So it's understanding their financials in terms of how much they're making and what their expenses are. That tells us what position they're in. And the cool thing too is I get to understand like their debts. And so we'll obviously take what they're making, what's in their account minus their debts, and that will get their net worth, right? And so we look at their net worth and we're like, okay, like you're usually negative net worth or positive net worth. That's the position they're in. And the cool thing about that is most people that I coach, they will have such a different look on what their net worth is because a lot of them think that they're in a bad position. I'll show them like, no, you're in a great position. Like, oh, okay, cool, awesome. Some of them are driving these super nice cars and thinking that they're big shots because they're making a lot of revenue, right? And then you do the numbers and you're like, bro, you're in negative net worth. Like we got to get out of this hole. Like you are in so much debt. We got to get out of it. then change their whole entire mindset because now they know the scoreboard for the first time. That's the first phase of it. So now we have clarity in all their finances and we know what their revenue is, what their profit is, what their expenses, all that good stuff. The next thing I audit is the bleed of their employees. And so the way that I structure this, which is really easy for me to understand, is we will rank the employees based off A, B, and C. A means the employee is making you 3 times what you're paying them. So for round numbers, say you paid them $1,000, they got to make you $3,000, right? B is going to be 2 times that. C is going to be 1 times that. Now you might ask, okay, it's easy for a salesperson, right? Because if you're paying a salesperson $1,000 and then he's making you $3,000, that's 3 times. So he's an A player, right? But what about the people that are managers? What about those? I have a whole different formula for that because you have to take in consideration, if a manager is helping other employees be more efficient and getting you more, you have to account for that. It's not just as X's and O's, right? It needs to be a little bit more of a formula, which I dive deeper into. But for this basis, I'm not trying to get to the bottom of the numbers yet. I'm trying to figure out how much does the entrepreneurs know about their employees. So what I'll do is I'll have them actually rank all their employees by A, B, and C. Just by like, what do you think, A?
Right.
They're like, yeah,
just
A.
gut feeling.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think, B? B, yeah, for sure, B. Okay, C, cool, boom. Everything goes down. And then what I'll do is, again, let's say all of them are being paid $1,000, right? And let's say there's 10 employees. Let's say he ranks all of them A's, right? So 10 employees, $1,000, $10,000 that he's paying for payroll. That means that they should be bringing in $30,000, right? If they're all A's. And so what I do is I look at the actual number at the very bottom of it, and then I look at the total revenue compared to what the employees are doing. And a lot of times it's over the actual revenue. So that tells me, oh, they actually have a wrong interpretation of how well their employees are actually doing. And then I'll take that number and then ask them, how much are you working? How many hours a week are you actually working? They're like 72 hours or 60 hours, whatever it is, right? And if there is leftover, which I would say 9 times out of 10 there's not, I will then make their hourly rate what that leftover is. And they start to see what their hourly rate is actually, right? And a lot of them, you're talking $16, $20, $24 an hour. And so then I show them this, not to make them feel bad, but for them to understand the position that they're in. Like you're better off being a cook or a trucker. Because as an entrepreneur, you're taking on so much stress.
All this stress, you're dealing with all this other thing. You'd be so much better off just...
It's weight, right? Like you're better off just clocking in, clocking out and doing all this, right? So do you really want to do all of this for that reason? Like you want an upside, right? Yeah, I want the upside. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be all this. Okay, great. We have to reverse engineer and first understand what position you're at. Because it's almost like sending somebody into a war and you got to know what weapons they have. If somebody has no weapons and you're like, all right, bro, you ready? Let's go. Let's go to war. And they're just like, and all of a sudden they have guns, like you're done, right? And so that's where it's like, it's clarity from the very beginning of not just their finances, but also the employees. And so then we'll start to work on those 2 things first. That usually takes the first few months, I would say, is like the most important. It's like, okay, let's stop the bleed in the company for the finances. Let's get clear on how much revenue and if we need to keep getting more money or if we just need to stop and make you profitable by just stopping the bleed. Because it's so much easier to just stop getting more money and stop because more money is more problems, right? You have to hire more people, you have to fulfill more, you have more chances of clients being pissed off. Like more is not always better. I always think, work smarter, not harder. And so a lot of times I'll just make them reframe their mindset of like, what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to make money? Or are you trying to feed your ego and say that I'm making $1 million a month in revenue? It's like, it doesn't do anything for anybody. So those are the 2 things I spend the first few months on with my students. From that standpoint, we now have freed up so much capital, not just from the standpoint of expenses and income, but more importantly, now their employees are being ranked the correct way. It's the most important thing.
So that's usually the first 2-3 months.
That's the first usually 2 to 3 months because it takes some time, right? It's not like as easy as just like, okay, do X, Y, and Z and you're done. So I think for me, it's like we spend to make sure that I'm not just putting duct tape over a hole in this shit, right? We're actually fixing their financial literacy and how they understand it. Because going forward, they need to be checking those things on a daily basis. It's recurring because the more you scale, the more expenses you're going to have, the more employees. And there's so many different things that come up where even like offboarding, right? Some people forget to turn off subscriptions and they don't set up SOPs for that, where all of a sudden they got rid of an employee and they move on to the next best thing. And people make the mistake where, oh, my time is better, way better spent on sales. So I don't have time for that stuff, right?
Right.
It's like, you don't even know what that means. Like, you don't
Well,
even
like
know.
our Fremio subscription, the amount of seats that were in, because over the years, people had been added on
Yep.
and not taken off.
Yep.
And then we get hit with the huge charge. Okay, well, the time that you would have spent, doing sales, because that's what you're better at, you could have done absolutely nothing and just audited those
Yeah.
numbers and easily gotten that money back.
Well, again, if you don't know your actual profit,
Right.
you look at the revenue that you're bringing in. But if you're bringing in a sale, let's say of $10,000 a month, are you actually making $10,000 a month? No. Right? You have to then break down, okay, of this package I'm selling, what extra expenses am I incurring to make sure that like, what is the profit?
Who's going to be working more? Is there an extra employee? Is it?
And that's the reason why, like, most people, it's like, if they don't have the scoreboard, they don't know what the most important thing is to focus on. It's the reason why the bigger businesses, they'll hire people to come in and audit everything and lean everything out, because that's how they make more money.
Right.
Like they're able to dive in, and that's all they do is they audit the company, and they're always looking, and hey, I just freed up, $1 million here. I freed up $2 million here. And so you got to run yourself like a high-end business, and it doesn't mean spend all of your time doing this, right? It's silly when business owners are like, hey, let's just spend all of our time on sales.
Right.
Again, you should block things out in your day and go into, okay, let's spend 3-4 hours on sales, and be more intelligent than that. Especially nowadays, we live in Orange County. People stop working at like 2:00.
Right.
Like, do your sales at like 8:00 in the morning until noon. And then after lunch, is anybody really even do anything?
Right.
So spend your financial times after lunch and do those things, right? I always say the first thing I do is look at your money. You should always look at your money, because that's, if you're not watching your money, the money's going to run away from you very quickly, right? And so it's how you treat your money is very, very important. And I know somebody's success level with their relationship with their actual money, right? If you ask them like, how much is in your account, they're like, well, let me see. It just means like they don't, like, I can tell you by the penny of what's in my accounts, all of them, right?
Yeah.
Because I look at it, and it's been a habit. And it hasn't been a habit because it's like, oh, I'm paranoid. It's like, I've understood that that's a scoreboard, and it allows me, one, to lower my stress.
Right.
Like, if you know what's going on, it's like, it's so much easier to understand where you are going and what you need to do for the day,
Right.
Versus just always in hustle mode, always in grind mode, always more sales, right? Because everybody thinks that the worst thing in business is not making enough money. Yes, that's a very bad thing. You got to make money in business to stay alive, right? But the second worst thing is making too much money and not being able to operate it. Because again, it's not how much you make, it's how much you can carry.
Right.
And it crushes people. I see businesses that make so much money so quick, and they're not able to have a plan for scale. And they think that the answer is just more, right? And really, it's just not. Like, it's water can be very healthy for your body. We need it, but then we can also drown, right? It's too much of it. You got to know what the balance is between it. And that gets into like the last phase I do with my students is, what are you actually trying to do? What are your actual goals, right? And is it based off insecurity? Like, are you just so competitive where you're trying to prove yourself to people? That's like, I want to be looked at as the best in this market, right? What does the best mean, right? Is it financial? Is it financial freedom? Because I look at people, and on paper, they make more than me. But then if you break down their numbers, you're like, their hourly rate is so, because they're working double as much as me, right? Now, I know what I want, which is not for everybody, right? But I want to be present with my kids. I want to be able to literally work from home and be able to take any time off. I want to be able to take a month off if I need to, work from anywhere, and work with people I want to work with. And so I've designed my life in a way where it fits me, but I don't think people want the life that I live, right? And so if it is somebody that's just like, gosh, Jared, I'm the happiest when I'm working 18-hour days. Like, I was there in the past. Cool, right? Was I happy? Yeah, I think I was pretty happy back in the day. Life changes though. And so having this idea, like, if you're single male and all you want to do is grind right now, that was me. And it's fun. It's a great phase, right? But then if you want a family and you have a girlfriend and you ask her what she want, and is she okay with you grinding nonstop? Like, you got people like Alex Ramosi and Layla, right? All they want to do is work. Right. More power to them, right? But everybody's not everybody. And so it's like, you got to realize what you actually want in life, and then have the courage to go get it. Right. And not just the courage to go get it, the courage to understand it and then go get it.
What does it actually mean?
Yeah. What's the steps?
To want what I want.
Yeah. Like, what does that look like? If you want to travel the world while working, then you got to be a digital nomad. You got to work from your phone or your computer. You just need Wi-Fi, right? But if you think that I want to travel the world, Jake, I want to do all these different things, and then you go and take a real estate test, and you're like, what are we doing? Like you got to show things. You have showings. You have different things. Like you're landlocked. You can't go anywhere, right? So I think that's the most important thing I would give to people is have the courage to say what you want and think about it for a little bit. Don't just like say what the other person wants. Don't be keeping up with the Joneses. I think that's where a lot of people fall into the trap of just like, gosh, like what? Gosh, he has a Ferrari. I want a Ferrari, right? Do you even know what that means? Like, do you really want a Ferrari, or do you just want to be seen in a Ferrari for one day?
Right.
Because I always say, like, the goals that I had in the past were so silly. I wanted the penthouse, and then we got it, and then I realized it was cool for 2-3 weeks, and then it was just like it was a place, right? It wasn't really fulfillment. It wasn't there. But I will say the things I'm the most happiest is being able to take off any time that I want to be with my kids. If they have doctor's appointments, I never missed one doctor's appointment when Megan was pregnant with Jack. And it wasn't like I was stressed on my phone, like I was present, right? Because we operated. I mean, we could have scaled our agency way bigger than what we did, but that went against what I wanted, right? We talked about your goals too. You want to be home with your family working. At first, we were in the office together doing that. And so it was like, okay, you told me what you wanted, and I knew what I wanted. It matched. Okay, let's actually go through with it, and let's actually make this happen. I know a big thing for us is like you were up in LA a lot, and that the traffic was taking you forever, right? We lowered those clients down. We have a few clients here and there that are a la carte, but we don't have monthly clients anymore. We have to go up to LA. And so it's like having the courage to just look at it. Now, it's not always the best business play if you're looking at money, right? But again, time is money. And so if you really want to make the time back, you got to have the courage to think about it and then have the right people around you to be able to build this the right way. And that's what I do. I mentor people to understand, okay, what do we want to do? You want to make $1 million? Why?
Yeah.
What's the reason for it?
Yeah.
And they got to give me a good reason for that, right? If they're just like, oh, it's going to save the day. Because there's a million different ways to make $1 million. I see so many people online right now that are always just like pushing the hustle culture and grind culture. And then all of a sudden people have this stigma of like what they think that they are. And then when you start to meet them in real life, you're like, I don't want to be anything like these guys. So be careful with the whole persona online of what people are doing. What you want is different than what other people want. And so that's why I say have the courage to say what you want, and then we'll be able to reverse engineer how to get there.
You talk about the doctor analogy, and I think that applies to like how you question the people that you coach. Can you explain that a little bit?
So right when you go into the hospital, what's the first thing they do?
They ask you questions. Height, weight, how old are you? What's your history?
They're just testing things.
Right.
They're not taking your word for it either, by the way. They're testing things. Like someone could go in and be like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. It's like, okay, let's see. Right. Let's like, we're not gonna start like, if you start saying like, oh my gosh, I feel like there's a tumor in my stomach, like take it out now. They're not going to cut you open right there.
Like, no, you had Taco Bell.
Yes. They're gonna make sure they test you first of all and like make sure it's like real, right? And so I think that's what you should do as well in business is you should test everything out to see what is the diagnosis. And that's the clarity of what's actually happening. Then from there, when you have clarity, you're able to actually then go in and do the right procedure. And sometimes the procedure doesn't even happen, right? Sometimes it's just like, yeah, you just need to take some, here's a pill. You just need some sunlight. You need some sleep. Ma'am, you're having an anxiety attack. I'm not going to tell you that because you might have more anxiety, but we're going to give you this fake water pill and you're going to take it 3 times a day and tomorrow you're going to feel great, right? And so it's like a lot of times people just, they get too ahead of themselves and they panic too much. And I totally understand why. But that's why having a mentor is so important because it gets into regulating your nervous system and making sure that the person that is on your team is the one that is actually going to ask you those questions because you usually know all the answers, but you get too much in your head, right? Of just like, oh, this is horrible. This is that. And like I saw in The Office, the TV series, one of the guys said, I wish you knew that you were in the good times before the good times were over. And it's funny because we're always panicking. We're always freaking out if we don't have control of our life, right? We always think it's like the worst thing. And then we're always thinking, because that's why I say like people spend 95% of their time in the past and in the future, especially entrepreneurs, right? They're never present right now. They're always thinking about, I don't have enough. How can I get the next deal? Or gosh, in the past I did this and this, I don't want to think about it. But what about right now? What are you doing right now? It's good to have goals in the future,
Right.
but the only thing you can control is the presence, and otherwise you won't get the present in front of you.
Right.
And then when the future, you finally get there, and the future becomes your present, and you look back at your past, and you're like, wow, those were actually the good times.
Man, I should have sat in it more.
And you just mess it all up, right?
Yeah.
Because you were just in your head. Like there's the person that's in a rainstorm. And one person is like, oh my gosh, this is awful. I'm wet. Like, oh my gosh, my hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then right next to him is somebody else who's dancing in the rain, right? Same situation, two different perspectives.
Right.
So I think that's like the most important thing I would tell people is have the courage to actually, think about what you want. Talk to the people around you that you love. So if it's your wife, if it's your girlfriend, what do you want? I think that's why putting together a vision board is so healthy, but check what the reason is behind it.
Right.
If it's status, if it's ego driven, ooh, it's a dangerous road, right? But if it's like a concept of, we want time back. We want to travel the world. Hey, cool. Let's travel the world. How do you want to travel?
Right.
Well, we want to fly first class. Why? Gosh, because it'd just be so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then let's break down how much first class is. Do you know? No, I don't know. What is it, Jared?
Yeah.
$30,000. Oh, okay. What does that mean you have to do to get there? Right? Are you willing to actually do that to get there? Because if you are, it's great.
Yep.
It's the best thing in the world.
Roadmap.
But the person that's making $50,000 a year and they want to spend $30,000, which is almost half of their income on first class, it would just let them down. It would just be like, what am I doing? Right? So again, it's like clarity on everything. And that's why when people have these goals and dreams, like I hear people that are new entrepreneurs, like you'll go in their office and they'll have a picture of a private jet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, have you been on a private jet? And they're like, no, but I want to. Like, okay. Have you flown business class or first class? No, I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You might like business class more than private jet. Like you've been on a private jet, we shot for the one company,
Mm-hmm.
right? In my head, business class or first class is so much better than private jet. Because for you, it's like you get the whole pampering. You get the lounge, you get all that stuff. Now, if you're about convenience and time, it's easy to jump on a jet and go there,
you're
right?
out.
But there's always different categories, right? Like JSX, for example, is easy to be able to do. Vegas, for example, we got Megan on there for like $600,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so easy because she had Caden, she was on and off. But $600, it wasn't 30 grand, it wasn't 40 grand, right? So it all just depends on what you're actually wanting. And I guess the main thing of this podcast is just clarity.
Yeah,
right?
Clarity on knowing your foundation and where you actually want to go and if it's worth it to do the work to get there.
Yeah.
And then more tactical, to go back to the finances, like how you were giving the rain analogies, entrepreneurs might be so busy focused on what I need to do. Oh, I'm going to need to make this much money, or I'm going to need to go out and get this many deals. But like clarity on what's the situation you're in right now and how can you look at the numbers right now, because you might not have to do that much to get to where you are, or you might have to do a lot more. Yep. But the main theme is clarity.
That's it.
On
and
that.
This might seem completely overwhelming for people too. And that's the reason why we offer this mentorship, mm-hmm. because it can't be solved in one episode.
Right.
This is supposed to give you guys as much information as possible for you guys to, think about, right? And be like, there is a path forward.
Right.
Guess what? We've done it. We know what it is, right? And so for me, it's like to help people get through there. It's not just one episode. It's not a one size fits all. It's asking questions and getting to the bottom of why you want something.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know the risk involved to get it, right? If my goal was to have a private jet, a private island, and to have multiple mansions on the beach and all these different things, that cost would be close to $20 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
What business would I need to build for me to get that in a way that I actually am comfortable? Because I also want time with my kids and all those different things, right? Mm-hmm. And so it kind of got to a point where it's like, do I really want all that stuff?
Right.
Could I go get that? Sure. But what am I sacrificing? I would have to work 18 hours every day and do different things the whole time, right? So it's just, again, give yourself clarity, work with people like me that actually are real mentors that have been there, that know how to get you there, that can ask the right questions and guide you, not just manipulate you to and be like, no, you should have what I want. Right. I know you don't want what I want. Some people do, some people don't. But my goal is to do the same structure that I did for my life, where I built big businesses. I've then downsized businesses. And I tell you what, a business with a bunch of employees and a bunch of clients making more money was way harder, way more stressful, way worse than me running a lean business. And that was my level of where I wanted to be, right? Again, somebody else might be happier up here than down here. Again, everybody's different. So figuring that out and then, learning how to reverse engineer that is the hardest thing. And that's why I'm here.
Mm-hmm. You want to hit some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
These are a little more specific, but obviously, they'll fit into everything that we talked about. So, what do you think is the biggest lie entrepreneurs tell themselves about revenue?
The biggest lie about revenue that entrepreneurs tell.
I have an answer. That's how much money I make.
Okay.
There's a lot of gray in that statement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 100%. It's the super nice car on the outside that when you turn it on, it sounds like crap and doesn't turn on, right? It's the Ferrari in the garage that the battery's dead, right? I think that's that's a great answer.
How do you know if an employee is actually an A player?
Numbers. They don't lie. I mean, you really, the formula is way more complicated than I can give on just one podcast. But the first thing is just how much are they making you? Now, a salesperson is really easy to understand that, like I said. But it's what do they bring to the culture? Are they easy to work with? And also, if you're not tracking the mishaps and the wins of your employees, then you really don't know if they're good or not. So you have to track. And then once you're able to track, you're able to see how good your employees are very simply.
So give me a little breakdown. Like you're looking at a manager, right? Someone who's not directly making money. What are the characteristics in that person that garners an A? When
they're not in the office, what happens to the culture? Right? Like, are they the one that can carry the team forward? If you go on vacation, are they going to be the one that holds the standard together, right? I mean, you've seen it with me and Megan. When we go on vacation, you just have, the company starts slacking off. And so if you have people that actually understand the culture and they live by it, they're going to control the culture when you're gone, right? Because the culture is not what you think it is as entrepreneurs. The culture that when you're gone and what happens in the culture, right? So it's so much more detailed, and most people just don't really understand that. Like it's the impact of somebody else, not just from a revenue standpoint, but from a productivity standpoint of the rest of the team.
All right, so next one. When should you fire someone versus coaching that underperformer?
So there's 3 buckets that I go through always as an entrepreneur. When there's a mistake in the business, it's either systems, clarity, or effort, right? Now, as an entrepreneur, you never think effort first. You always think systems and clarity because you always say it's my fault. So the first thing you figure out is what were they, right? Was it bad systems that we gave you that you couldn't perform, right? And you can look at that pretty quickly. Was it clarity that, yes, we had the right systems, but we weren't clear about the actual job? If that's the case as well, then that falls on you. You can fix that.
Right.
You should give the person their chance after that, right? Now, if the person articulates that the clarity was very clear and the systems were great, it's effort. You can't control their effort, right? So at that point, that's when I usually fire very quickly because I can't control effort.
Right.
And I need to have a good reason to keep them if it's, hey, systems and processes and SOPs are there, which means it's like the systems and the clarity of what we talked to you was like very clear. You just didn't do it.
Right.
Again, hard thing is you're now affecting culture.
Right.
And everybody else starts to watch what you're doing. And they're like, oh, wow, you're the kind of boss that will let things slide. And so then they start to think that they can do those things too. Yeah. So again, it's the chain reaction, right?
It's like the cheap, fast, and good for products. Service, like systems. What was it? Systems, clarity, and effort.
Yeah. And if people just actually write that down on their desk and they go through that, it makes you not emotional because as an entrepreneur and a business owner, your job is to work for your employees, not for them to work for you. I think that's the mentality people don't understand. It's like the best people that you work with, you really want to make sure they have the right systems and clarity to win. Because otherwise you'll lose A-type players. Because think about if LeBron James, for example, in basketball wasn't clear about the systems. Like sometimes it's 3-pointers, sometimes it's 5-pointer. He'd be like, "This game is so stupid. Like I just made a 3-pointer and the other team made a 3-pointer. Now it's a 5-pointer. Like I'm not going to play this game anymore." Right. So it's important to recognize those things and work with them. And when you work with them, you gain their trust, and then you start to realize quicker if it's effort or if it's your problem. You could have an A player and have the wrong systems of clarity and they leave you. And all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, screw that person. Like they suck, blah, blah." And you have no idea what it is. And so again, the game is about winning. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about locating the rights and wrongs.
Okay, next one. Why do you think most coaches jump straight into systems instead of diagnosis?
Because it's easy. mean, it's easier to give people a one and done than an actual fix, right? A fix takes understanding them deeply. And that's not good for business, right? Business, you want to scale. You want to offer
Right.
people a service that millions of people can actually do. That's more of business. But if you really want to get in the meat and bones of it, that's the reason why I say my mentorship program, my one-on-one coaching is so much more higher level than anybody else, because I'm able to do things way, way in more detail. I'm able to give them more time and understand them and not have 100 students that I physically cannot have the time
Right.
for.
Once a week, hey, 150 people jump on a call. We're going to be here for 20 minutes. Like, no, you're going to be one-on-one.
Yeah, and it's almost like the people that go to like the Tony Robbins conferences. That day they're fired up, dude. Right. But then you ask them in a week where they're at, and they're at the same level. And so I'm actually after like real impact, and that's the reason why it's like I require my students not just to jump off me once a week. It's like we gotta be talking all the time, because I can't help you if you're not able to communicate with me. We're just wasting everybody's time and money. And so again, it's like my model has always been a little bit different than everybody else, because everybody's thinking about scale first.
Right.
I'm thinking about impact first, and then the money always comes later.
Right. So we covered a lot, and there's a lot to think about if you're someone watching this who maybe this is the first time you're thinking about something. So I'm going to leave you with this last one. If someone feels overwhelmed right now, what's the first financial metric that they should calculate?
Finances. That's it. Like literally just get your finances in order, because everything else will then fall into place, because again, it's a scoreboard, right? We covered a lot here, and that's why it's like we want to, see what people's questions are. We're gonna make a lot more of these episodes, and we're gonna articulate this in different ways. This was almost like all of our episodes in one episode to pack everything in. But again, if you don't know your finances, you don't know what position that you're in, and you don't know what is the right move next, and then you're just left to think, guessing. And you can't guess in business. You have to have clarity. And so I think if you break down your finances and have, an understanding of that, and again, we're going to give this free resource. We'll put it in the comment below or in the caption, and it'll be a whole YouTube video of me walking through my Google Sheet that people can take and make it themselves. And the cool thing about it is we're going to offer some consultations for people, for me to actually sit down with them and break it down in general, because you might look at it and it might be overwhelming.
Right.
Once you go through it with your own finances and you understand how it works, it's like, it can't change the whole entire game.
And it's one of those things where if you sit down and do the tedious work and you're meticulous about it once, you've done the hard part. The rest of it is just making sure you look at it, glance at it.
That's it. And it takes me 5 minutes every single day, and that's it. So I say, again, clarity, 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 that will bring your sanity.